in Korean culture, we're really big on respect, right? And I feel like a lot of the times people say you have to give respect to earn it, right? That's a pretty common saying. Um, but in the Korean culture, respect is a default for everybody. And I think you have to earn disrespect, right? Because
Wow.
once you've earned someone's disrespect, and now you've crossed the line. Whereas respect should just be default for everybody, right?
What's up? What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Inside Leaders. This time I am doing a podcast and I have the honor, the privilege to be podding with Mr. Andrew Lee.
Yes.
What's going on, brother? How
What's
you
going
feeling?
on, man? Smart. Good. Honestly, the honor is mine. Thank you, for having me. Because um, it's one thing, you know, being told like thank you, this and that, but it's another thing having a leader like yourself, whom I respect, invite me to something like this. And I know people like you keep your circle small, so to be considered a part of that circle, the honor's all mine. So I appreciate you taking the time out and inviting me to this. So.
No problem. So I've been talking to you about this whole Inside Leaders docuseries.
Mhm.
And I remember we was first talking about it, and I was like throwing ideas out to different people, right?
Mhm.
And one of the things that got me with you is that whenever I talk to you, you just get me so pumped up, so motivated, right? And you always got good feedback and good input.
Mhm.
So at first I was thinking about going with a documentary. But then I was thinking it might get too long because, like, right now, it seems like the average interview's been about 20, 30 minutes. If I do about 4 or 5 people, I don't know how many people's tuning into YouTube and want to watch something that's, 2 hours long. So when I was talking to you about it, you was like, hey, you should probably call it a docu-series. And I was like, you know what? That actually works. So coming with that idea, I
Mhm.
really appreciate it, right?
Yeah, of course, of course. I think, like you said, right, because attention spans are so short. Even myself and just everybody and everything's go 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 these days. Having that docu series, I feel like gives the opportunity also to interview other people, and have the audience, understand. Oh, I wonder what's next. I wonder who's next. So I think you made the right call, and um, I certainly enjoy the episodes. So I look forward to them every time you push them out.
And like you said, keeping the audience engaged. That's why I wanted to do this one in a podcast style. So it's all part of the same docuseries, but the podcast was just a little bit different because some of the interviews I was doing, my interview style is I really want to have the interview focused on the individual and I don't want to be on camera. And some people have been saying like they want to see me on camera too. So I was thinking who would be the right person to be on camera with and have a conversation. You popped up in my head. I was like, I gotta get this guy on camera, right? Because you get me so motivated, right? So my question to you is when it comes to motivation, like what does motivation mean to you?
So that's that's the question, everyone always asks, right? To individuals that pump them up and things like that. And this might not be the answer that you might expect, but I personally think motivation is bullshit,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Motivation is something that you see in others or on TV, and it gets you pumped up for that moment, right? But then once you're like starting at the gym or something like that, right? You're motivated for that week, for that 2 week. Around that third week, you start falling off, and that's what motivation is, I think.
Okay.
But what I think is more important than motivation is discipline, right? Discipline is what gets you up in the morning to really start things. Discipline is what keeps you accountable to continue striving to get better and better and better. So motivation isn't horrible, because it gives some people that kick in the butt to start. But at the end of the day, motivation can only take you so far.
Mhm.
Discipline is what I think will take someone, even further. Um,
I agree with that,
yeah.
because motivation is like, I think there are some things that kind of spark some motivation. But when I talk to people about, let's just say physical fitness, people say, man, I don't know how you ride a bike. I don't know how you go to the gym. I don't know how you motivate to do that. I'm like, sometimes it ain't got nothing to do with motivation. It's like discipline. Like I tell myself all the time, I look in the mirror and I say, I don't want to be fat. Right?
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
that might sound just like a small thing, but I be thinking about that. I'm like, man, I'm dang near 40 years old. I don't want to be this guy that been like, man, back in 2003, I was swole.
Right.
And I just know I got to be disciplined. I got to go. I got to make it in. I think when people are trying to find discipline, I think discipline and consistency kind of run hand in hand, right?
Mm,
When people are trying to find that, my recommendation to them or like advice is like it has to be realistic. And when I say realistic, it's like you got to make it fit your lifestyle. For me, going to the gym, like I try to lift at least 3 times a week and I ride my bike about 3 times a week. Now, if you were to look at those weeks of training, the time, ain't no telling what time I go, but I know I'm going to go. But that's my realistic consistency. Because someone may say, like, man, I got to go to the gym every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then one day they miss 6 o'clock. And then it kind of throws everything off. To me, I kind of have a little more leeway in there. I might
mhm.
not make it at 6, but I'm gonna go before the day's over with, and that just
Absolutely.
helps me stay disciplined and consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned, how people might have the whole routine, right? 6 in the morning. If they miss that, oh, I missed it, so I'll just go tomorrow. But you find a way, in that day, to get it in, because to you it's not, like you said, it's consistency at that point now. It's not just um, a routine kind of thing. And the thing that's dangerous about routine is it's just checking the block sometimes. So even myself, I go in the morning. So sometimes it's on days where I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm playing the little violin for myself and all that stuff. Maybe I'm tired, or whatever it is, but um, just recapturing that focus, I think, is super important, whether it's in the morning or night. As long as you get it in that day,
Mhm.
that just shows consistency. And that's where the discipline part comes in, because if you do miss it, like you said yourself, you're going to get it in eventually that day,
Definitely.
before you put your head to bed.
So when we're talking about consistency and kind of staying on physical fitness real quick, right? How long have you been consistently working out?
So I would some about 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 years consistent, as in like 5 times a week, 5, 6 times a week. Yeah. That started all with um, training for selection, special forces. Um, I actually went to selection 3 times. Unfortunately, didn't work out, and that's a little chip I carry on my shoulder.
Mhm.
And it's not, nothing against, whatever it might have been at that point. But those SF guys are the real deal. That's why us Army guys look at them, and you already know, those are the guys.
Mhm.
So I always try to be a part of that, and train to be a part of that. And unfortunately, it didn't work that way. Whether it was God's plan, or whether I wasn't ready, or whether I wasn't a good fit for SF. But it was either feel sorry for myself, and you know be that guy in the future, like, yeah, I tried and it wasn't for me, and make excuses, or it was about finding the next big thing. And for that third time, I went when my daughter was about 3 months old. And it was rough out there. And but like I said before, I think everything happens for a reason. And after that experience, it really got me to think. I'm glad, I am where I am at now, being able to spend time with my daughter, because that's the biggest thing for me.
Mhm.
So the 2 years of consistency and discipline, and all that is easy, because when I wake up, I see my wife open up my daughter's door, peek my head in, and just to see, my daughter, to me, that's everything, right?
Wow.
She's the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life. Of course, my wife too, but she's my why. She's the reason I'm able to do what I do, and everything is so easy, right? Because I have, that person, that little person, to live for.
Definitely. Wow. One of the things you said that stuck out to me, one was definitely family, and I'm gonna come back to that,
Mhm.
right? And another thing you talked about was like finding the next biggest thing, right? Going to selection and not working out for you, but not just, falling into a rut. What's the next thing?
Mhm.
You know? And one of the things I talk to people about, like through my lifetime, my time in the military, I can't tell you how many things I tried and I strived to do and it didn't work out.
Mhm.
Either I didn't make the cut, I got, kicked out of the process, or like you said, it just didn't work out. And when I encountered those times, to me, it was just like, For whatever reason, it wasn't meant for me to do this. So what's the next thing? And I just kept it moving. Like I've always had a mentality like that because I didn't want to be stuck. And I think a lot of times people just fail to realize how many options are out there. You got to find these options and you got to find a way to keep going. Like you can't just get stuck in one spot because you'd be like trapped, so to speak,
Mm,
and you just fall into that rut. And I think you've probably seen some of these guys before. They just living in a time that never happened, but
mm.
there's so much more of their life that they can expand on. They just have to be willing and open to finding what's the next biggest thing.
Absolutely. And that's a great point that you make out because, you know, uh, my generation or the younger generation, I can't say everybody, but because we have savages in every generation, but there's a lot of times where people are hit with just a little bit of adversity and they're so quick to give up. When you just have to climb a little bit further and something great might have been on the other side of that hill. Um, but what makes you push through that? Because for me personally, after that third time, I did feel sorry for myself, and be all butthurt and all that stuff for about a week or two. But then, like you, it was okay. Boom, on to the next thing. But what makes you push that? Is it the people around you, or is it your own personal kind of hunger?
I think it's a little bit of all that. It's the people around me, to my immediate family, those I've have encountered over the years that may look up to me or ask me for advice. And then I got to a point in my life, who did I want to be as my own person, you know? And some of that came from things that happened like years ago. Because sometimes when I'm talking to people about who I am as a person, what I've done in the military, they kind of figure out where did that originate from, and they'll say, man, I bet when you were younger, like when you was in high school, you played sports and you was probably this person and all this stuff. And it was a complete opposite. When throughout my times in high school, man, I hated high school. It was probably like the worst time of my life. I wasn't popular. I didn't play any sports. I wasn't athletic. Just none of the above, right? And for me, when I was growing up, I had an older sister, and my older sister was like everything for me, and she was the popular one.
Mm,
So all the kind of little bit of popularity I had, it came from my sister. But when I was 16 years old, my sister got killed, and it just completely changed the dynamic from my household, and it changed the dynamic with me because at that moment, I got to a point where, man, I fell into like an emotional rut, and I felt like I didn't have that close support because when I was growing up, my sister was always there for me. I'm talking about for bullying, just being even like a parent figure. Even though my parents were in my life, she was just always that person for me. And watching her navigate through life, if there's one thing I learned about my sister, she was fearless. Nobody ever picked on her. Nobody ever messed with her, and she always stood up for me and my other sister. So when she died, I had to figure out what did that look like. And then I became the oldest sibling, and I'm thinking like, man, how much my sister meant to my family, how we all looked up to her, like my parents and my younger siblings. I got to be that person, and for me, that's where it kind of started. And then I just found some great mentors. I was in some good situations, and I think that's what started it. So a lot of times when I feel like I know I never want to feel like that again. Like I didn't have no one to help me. So sometimes I feel like I gotta be my own help. And then as I get older and the more things I do, there's more people that's kind of like looking up to me and following me. I think about all of those people, and that just man, it just keeps me going.
mm. Yeah, that's it's I can see that though because anytime I come up to you asking for advice or hey Master, what you think about this or that, you never tell me what I want to hear. It's always what I need to hear, right? Um, and so far it's always been great. So I hope to keep that going and not get chewed out, too much one day. But I really do appreciate that, and I feel something always genuine when you're telling me, this or that. And it really, I take it to heart, and I take that because you're obviously at a point in your career where you're very successful. So for me, I always say, I tell people this all the time. You're the average of the five people you associate yourself with, right? Um, so if you're the middle of the pack, or if you're the lowest of those five, you better do something to catch up to the other five. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
But for me, I try to associate myself with like maybe 20, 30 people, but all of them better believe, in my eyes, in my opinion, they're all above me, right? And I choose them because it's, what are they doing with their lives, and what are they doing um, to have gotten them where they're at in their career or in their personal lives, and not just military, but wow, I really like how this guy is a father, like he's a real man, um, and the love and care that he has for his wife and his children, those kind of things I pick up. And then on the military side, right, things like, oh, you see right there that mess aren't, he gonna tell you the truth. It might hurt your feelings at that moment, but he gonna tell you how it is. And for me, that raw, unfiltered, just kind of straight to the point, that's the stuff that I love, because I'm not looking to be babied. I'm a grown ass man, and so I expect people to tell me, straight up, and in return, be able to tell people my truth, and the truth that, what I think they need to hear if they don't come ask me.
It's that's a touchy subject sometimes because sometimes when you deliver this information to people, sometimes it's not always well received, And when people are coming to me for whatever, whether it's, personal advice, professional advice, I never take that lightly. And then also one of the things I personally do, I always try to learn from the person that's coming to me, regardless of who they are, whether they're a subordinate, someone lesser rank, or a different situation. Because I feel like that's another thing that keeps me going, having an open mind to everything. Because you never know what you can learn from someone. And I think mentorship is important too. And I bring that up because in mentorship, sometimes I think people think it's the older individual and they're seeking mentorship from them. But in my mind, mentorship is it's a relationship, but it's the person who has the most information about something you're trying to pursue.
Mm,
So, like for me, I don't have any kids, right? And I always hear you talking about your wife and your daughter. So I look at you at this type of level as a dad. So if I just had a kid, I'd be looking at you as one of my father mentors. And to me, it has nothing to do with age, but you have that information, you have that blueprint. So that's where that mentorship is
mm,
established. So when I'm talking to people and meeting people and run into these different situations, in my mind, I'm always thinking like they may be coming into me for something, but what do they have that might be beneficial for both of us? And I think those when you form those relationships, then work is like it's not even work.
mm,
You just at a place of duty, just knocking stuff out. Because you didn't got that relationship and the things that's important to you or the things that's important to the other person. Y'all sharing that information, y'all just knock it out. I think it just makes life good. I think it's a very positive setting, and that's what I'm thinking about when I'm encountering these different people.
mm. Yeah. I think that what you mentioned, it builds up that healthy, organic kind of relationship, where you say, both parties can learn from each other. And when you say, you can learn from the person, not regardless of their age, but by the experience, basically, you're saying that
Hmm.
they have, like the example that you gave with me being a father and stuff. So, I think that's like a great way to look at things, and definitely being open to learn from everybody, regardless of, rank or situation in life.
Definitely. And when we talk about learning and experiencing different things, right? I'm gonna go back to physical fitness because it's been
Yeah.
it's been stuck in my mind, right? So I think I'm a pretty physically fit guy, But when I sit next to you, I'm like, man, I'm a little guy, right? And I always see you, and I'm like, man, this dude, he's swole, man. I said, I'm gonna work out with Sarah Lee one time, because we always talking about fitness and everything. But
Mm,
I was like, let me see what he's about. So I come into your office. It's a
yeah.
Thursday, and I'm like, hey, man, I know you was talking about like deadlifting and stuff, and I follow you on Instagram, and I've seen you like pulling some good weight,
Mm.
and I don't mind deadlifting. I was like, wait, when's the next time you deadlifting? You was like, tomorrow. I was like, damn, I shouldn't have asked him, right? So I was like, what time? You was like 6 o'clock. So I was like, all right, so we gonna be at the gym at 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
right? So the whole day and night, I'm just like, I'm just thinking about this gym session that's going down the next morning. And I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of nervous a little bit, right? I'm like, I need to hydrate and be ready, right? I even called my dad. I said, man, Dad, I think I might have bit off more than I can chew on, on this one, right? So we go to the gym the next
Mhm.
morning, and like, what's going through your mind before we start this?
So that's funny that you say that because from my perspective, right, when you came in and asked me, hey, when's the next time you deadlift in? And I say tomorrow, and you say, let me join, that right there, that got me pumped up. I wasn't even thinking like I'm gonna break Master Arn off, nothing like that. It's never that. To me, it was, oh, Master Arn wants to work out with me. That's to me, that's awesome. Someone who I see as a leader, someone who I see as a mentor, as a big brother type figure that wants to work out with me. To me, it's like, oh, you willing to come out and train with me? And I didn't even know that you thought that way. Like, oh, I might have bit off more than I could chew. You say that, but I was super pumped. I was so pumped that day. I forgot my PC at home. You know, grabbing my gear and all that stuff. I forgot my hat.
Mhm.
But anyways, we get there, I'm in the car and I see you rolling. I'm like, oh, this is really happening, right? And I knew you'd show up. I knew you wouldn't be like, hey, something came up, because then I wouldn't even be here. You know what I mean? But while we were doing it, and we were getting after it, we were moving at a good pace. But you shocked the hell out of me on that the box jump.
The box
The
jump.
height that you got, you said, "Hey, let's do some box jumps." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And we had the boxes right there. There were a couple boxes right there, and I was like, "Okay, I could clear these easy."
Yeah.
And you look over to the side, and you say, "I'm gonna jump that one." And there was two, right? There was the tall one
And like
that
the
basically
medium
came
one.
up to like my chest basically, and then there was the smaller medium one, and I was like, okay, that one right there. Me thinking the medium one,
Yeah.
and you were like, no, the big one, and I was like,
I gotta
yeah,
see this.
I can't get up. I already know my limitations.
Yeah.
I'm not getting up that, all
Mhm.
right? So we set it up, and
You was nervous.
I
I see
was,
it in your face.
yeah, I was thinking in my head like,
This guy about to get hurt.
yeah, like Matt Sharp might, bust his face on this. And I even told you, hey, you want me to stand here
I was like, no, I
to
got it.
catch just in case. But you was clearing that thing like nothing, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. I'm over here with the little rinky dink one
Hey.
trying to get after it. But that really shocked me. I was super surprised by that. So but I think that's what's so healthy about having these kind of relationships, because we push each other. Like, I'm gonna see, it's not really about one up in the person, but
Mhm.
it's like, I'm gonna show him what I'm about too.
Yeah.
And then it's not like we're not putting each other down, it's picking each other up.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's something that's super healthy in a relationship, especially in someone that you look up to, and then you on the opposite end, where I'm technically your subordinate. It's like, hey, young buck, I still got, I still got a couple tricks up my sleeve. So, that was very eye-opening and very humbling experience for me as well. And
You
I loved it. I loved it.
so for me, it was mutual, right? So we start off with deadlifting, right? And I'm asking you a lot of questions about what we're doing because in my mind, I gotta manage my fitness, right? I can't get burnt out. I gotta make it
Yeah.
through the whole workout. That's what I'm telling myself. So you was like, hey, we're gonna warm up, with the bar, do a couple reps, and then we're gonna start, climbing this ladder. I said, all right, cool. So we start climbing, and I deadlift consistently, right? But I usually work up to about maybe like 225, and I'll do some reps, but I really don't lift like heavy, heavy. And I think the most I've ever lifted in my entire life was maybe like 385. That day we worked out, I think I worked up to 365. And I was surprised I even got that much.
Yeah, but and then I want to say you repped it too,
I think
though.
I did 3
I
reps for
want to say you did three.
365.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you could definitely do. I feel like you could do more than that.
I don't know,
But
because I felt good at 365. And I don't know. I think the reason why I did reps, because I thought that was the end.
okay.
And it wasn't.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't. So we get done with 365. You was leading the way. You did the reps. I said, okay, I could do 365. I think I could do it. It felt pretty good. Did my reps, and then you went and got the 405.
Yeah.
Dude, you did 405 for reps.
Yeah, yeah.
That was insane. Like, I already knew in my lifetime I've never done 405,
Mhm.
but I still made an attempt. It was a
Mhm.
failed attempt, but I still had to. I was like, let me at least let me just see what it feels like, man. But
Mhm.
that joint, that
But
was
I
insane.
think that's what's super important, making the attempt though, because um, benching, right? My bench is super weak.
Mhm.
I could get two plates maybe like 5 times, 4 or 5 times clean. When I first started benching, I couldn't. It never even occurred to me, or like I could never imagine doing two plates, right? So my buddy, he told me, "Hey, just put on the weight and hold it up, right?
Feel it, feel the weight.
Feel it." I picked that up and I thought that thing was gonna fall on my head, and I was like, "There's no way I'm ever getting here, right?" And it's the little steps that we take, the consistency, and little by little, going more and more and more, that eventually those couple pounds, they start adding up,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's what it is, and to me, it's like, or to others, it could be like, oh, four plates, 405, whatever it is. It's like, oh, that person is moving weight. But in my head, I'm seeing the guy who's doing 5 plates,
Yeah.
and to me, it's like, damn, like I need to get there,
I need to get
right?
there. Yeah.
But in the safest way possible,
Of
no
course.
ego lifting, nothing like that. But I think that's what really pushes me.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like maybe a self pride thing, or maybe just really wanting to get better, right? Because I'll look in the gym and be like, oh, that guy's lifting a lot. He's lifting more than me, but I guarantee I can outrun him, Or if I'm on the track, like this guy zoomed past me, right?
Hmm.
Like I guarantee I can
I
outlift him
lift it.
though,
Yeah.
So you
I
might
like
have me
that.
on, one thing, but you're not gonna get me on everything,
Look,
Yeah,
that's how I felt about that box jump,
yeah.
right? So we did the deadlift, we did a couple exercises, right? And some exercises I've never even done before. I was like, man, it's different. It felt good. So now I was like, you know what? You down for some power metrics? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna show him what I can do.
You got me on that one. Yeah, that was good. That was good though. So that's a goal of mine now, right? So like, I'll tell you, but secretly now I'm gonna be working on that, right? And then the next time we come in, we're gonna set that up. I'm gonna put a little plate on top of it and clear even more than you. You know what I mean? Those are the little games that we got to play
That's what's
to
up. I
push
like
each
it.
other. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I follow you on social media, right?
Mhm.
And every once in a while, you post a picture of like your family and working out, and man, it gets me fired up, right? And we talked about that. And I'm gonna put your Instagram on here so people can find you if they're
Okay.
looking for you, right? But I'm gonna show you a picture, and when I show you this picture, tell me what's going through your head, all right?
Hmm. Okay. So to me, this is the first time my wife and my daughter are at a promotion of mine, right?
Wow.
Yeah. I've been married now for almost 4 years, and then my daughter will be 2 in December. Um, but looking at that picture, to me, it's not it's not my promotion, right? I see that, and I don't see the things that I might have done, or how I've distanced myself from my peers to get that promotion. When I see that, it's the people that's promoting me. They're the ones that got me to where I'm at. You know, um, they say the NCOs are the backbone of the army, right? Those two are my backbone, right? Um, my wife makes me want to be a better husband. My wife makes me want to be a better man. Um, People say, you want to be a great soldier, this, and that. But to me, I think the most important thing to be is a good person. And I feel like the rest falls into place.
Mhm.
Um, so when I see that picture, of course, there's happiness, but it's also a very humbling moment knowing that I could never do this alone, right? They're the ones that are behind me, pushing me along. So, yeah, that one caught me off guard. That's a good one.
I got a story about that. So that was your promotion,
Mm,
and I was there. And when you found out you was getting promoted, you hit me up. He was like, "Hey, get promoted." I was like, "When?" So
mhm,
you gave me the date, and I was like, "Hey, can I be there?" He was like, "Yeah, of course you could be there, right?" I wanted to be there for that special moment because in my mind, people who put in that work and they get promoted, people should be flocking to those events just to show that support, you know. So that picture made me feel a certain type of way seeing it after I experienced the whole scenario. And I'm gonna tell you what I experienced. So I show up to the promotion and I'm thinking I'm like the first person there. You know, parking lot's still empty. I get there. So I didn't want to be late. I didn't want to miss it. And then I know when you step into that senior level, those promotions are big. And sometimes, you know, you're doing like some food and some catering. And I just wanted to be supportive if you needed anything. So when I walk into the conference room, I see your wife and I see your little daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that's what's up, right? And me, your wife, and your daughter, we're the only ones in there. So I walk up to your wife and I introduce myself, tell who I am. And I asked her a question. I said, what do you think about the promotion? You know what she said? She said, it's not just the promotion, it's everything. And I'm kind of looking at her like, you know, wait for some more context. And she says, I'm so proud of him. Everything. It's one thing after another. He said he just got done with SLC and he got distinguished honor grad. You know, he's studying, he's working now, he's getting promoted, got selected to go warrant. He says everything. He said he works so hard. I'm so proud of him. And when she said that, man, I could feel that, man. And it was like that level of validation from your wife, your partner, your friend, the mother of your child. Man, some people they spend a lifetime trying to find that, man. It just made me feel a certain type of way. And later that day when I seen your Instagram and that picture popped up, I just felt love from that picture,
Mhm.
man. And I said, I gotta ask him about that. What was he thinking about? Because I wanted to hear the
Yeah,
other side of
yeah.
it.
Thank you. I didn't even know my wife said that. But I guess it's how I praise my wife, and she's praising me, when I don't even know. And I think that just shows that it's a very healthy relationship. She is my best friend, she is the best mother. She's the best wife any guy like me could ask for. Sometimes I tell myself, how'd I get so lucky, right? Um, but I think it really is as simple as just working for each other and understanding, life is hard, but some people are fortunate enough, and I'm very lucky and fortunate to have that kind of person in my life, and you know, super blessed. And I did grow up with, I want to say I grew up privileged, right? I had both my mother and my father in my life. Um, I was showered with love from both of them. They were at the soccer games, they were at, the school plays. They were always there. And seeing that dynamic between my mother and my father, you know, taught me, I guess, subconsciously or whatever, that when it's my time, I need to be that kind of person, right? I need to be that man, that father, that husband, for my family, because I'm gonna be the one that provides for them. But I know that 100% I can't do it alone, and I can be completely vulnerable in front of my wife, um, because she'll tell me exactly what I need to hear, right? Exactly what I need to know. She's the one that keeps me, you know, between the left and right limits, right? If I'm straying a little too far, she pushes me back, eyes on the prize. Um, some days, if I'm feeling lazy, she's the one. Hey, come on. And that's all she has to say. Hey, you know what? You're right. Because if I get mad at her, there's probably some truth to it, right? Because like, oh, why is she being so annoying? No, she's telling me what I got to hear, right? She's telling me what's got to be done. So, husbands and spouses out there, listen to your spouse, right?
They
That's
know
that's
what's
the
best.
secret. That's the secret, right? Um, yeah, and I'm just super blessed. I've got the best daughter, cutest daughter. I'm pretty sure every parent says that, but she really is. She really is
Definitely is.
amazing. So thank you for that. I didn't know. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know she said that.
Yeah. When she said it, it was just like I said, I could just feel what she was saying. And you know, and even that's something that she said that just gave me another level of respect for you because there's a reason why she's saying that about you. And it's just like when you start learning these different dynamics of people, it just brings things full circle. You know, it's easy to go to somebody for some help. It's easy to go have a conversation with them. And then, like I said, you build those relationships. You know, work's not even work. Work ain't even a bad place to be. I'm not even thinking about what I got to do today because, man, Lee's gonna be there. The worst thing that's gonna happen is we're gonna have a great conversation and we're gonna go to the gym and he's gonna break me off for the deadlift, you know? So I really appreciate those moments, you know, being a part of that, and thank you for letting me come to the promotion, you know. Oh, another thing I want to ask you about is you mentioned your family, you know, your mom, your dad. Growing up in that household, what's some of your background? How does that translate to who you are as a person and as a leader?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So like I said, I was very fortunate and very privileged, if you want to call it that, to have that, old-fashioned kind of nuclear family, right? I have a younger sister as well. We didn't get along, growing up, but I love my sister to death. Now that we're older, but my mother and father were always there for me. Um, both disciplinary, both, you know, left me alone if I got things I needed to get done. Contrary to the tiger mom, Asian tiger mom, and all that stuff. She left me alone. I didn't have to get straight A's or anything like that. I got A's and B's, and I guess that was good enough. Um, but they really kind of left me alone as long as I got the things done that I was supposed to do, right? Whether it was chores or, you know, homework, things like that. But I think a big part of my character is has to do with, my culture as well, right? Um, I'm Korean American, right? Born and raised in the States, but my mother and father both from South Korea, right? And in Korean culture, we're really big on respect, right? And I feel like a lot of the times people say you have to give respect to earn it, right? That's a pretty common saying. Um, but in the Korean culture, respect is a default for everybody. And I think you have to earn disrespect, right? Because
Wow.
once you've earned someone's disrespect, and now you've crossed the line. Whereas respect should just be default for everybody, right? You have to earn someone's disrespect to really just draw that line, and whether they cut you off or not. But because they were, immigrants to the states, seeing the work ethic between my mother and father, um, seeing, barely speaking any English. When they first came, they're pretty good now at English, but um, just grinding, right? And now that I'm older, realizing that my father drove those 18 wheelers, right? Those
Mhm.
big trucks from like New York to Texas, New York to Florida. These long trips. And my mother, she had her own nail salon, right? Um, but to see my mother and father grind day after day, no excuses, just putting in the work to provide myself and my sister a better future, that speaks a lot, I think, to the type of people they are and the dedication to their kids, right? And to each other. Because I'm sure my dad, didn't grow up saying my dream is to be a truck driver, right? I'm sure my mom didn't grow up. My dream is to own a nail salon, right?
Mhm.
But it's something about sacrificing what they wanted, for the betterment of myself and my sister. And I would never take that for granted, right? So how I could pay them back is to be the best that I can be in whatever I choose to do is how I show that respect and show that gratitude to them. And to this day, they'll call me and say, "Hey, we're so proud of you." You know,
Yeah, that's
when
awesome.
I told them about the promotion, my mom texted me nonstop. "I'm so proud of you." And that to me means a lot. I don't need to be making a bunch of money, driving the nicest cars, wearing the nice clothes, none of that. To me, family is so big, because we sacrifice for those that we love, right? And then so you ask about leadership and how that affects my leadership. I think the measure of a great leader is someone who's willing to serve, right? Serve in the sense of being there for their soldiers and um, taking care of them. We hear that a lot, but what does serving really mean, right? So it's like going that extra mile. Like, hey, how many times you hear, hey, you start school yet? We've heard that all the time, but there's a difference between saying you start school yet? Why not? Okay, start, and going, hey, sit down. Let me tell you about this school. This is how you register. This is how you transfer your JST. This is
Mhm.
how, this school works. Going through the step by step. And I'm not saying, spoon feed them the answers, but going that extra mile, might be that to them, it shows, oh, this person cares about me. Not because it's that person's job or because they're my NCO or whatever. They genuinely are invested in me. And I think that's what makes a great leader, someone who's willing to serve others.
Yeah. And when you say that extra mile, to me, I think that's the difference between care and genuine care. As a leader, your subordinates or the people you work with, you're supposed to care about them. But there's a difference between care and genuine care. That genuine care is that extra mile. And I'm a firm believer of that. And I think it's easier to get people to work with you when you're showing them that genuine care, just showing them that you're a person. Because I get that we in the military, and I think sometimes people take that a little too direct. Like
Mhm.
everyone's a robot. People forget, like, people have emotions, they got families. Some people may have other things that are important that might be bigger than the military. So you got to be a little genuine with them. I understand we got missions and we got things to do, but that genuine concern, that's I think that's huge when it comes to leadership. And the leaders that have a big following, I think it's because they're genuine.
Absolutely. Yep. It goes, I would even say it goes as far as love, right? At that point, not no romantic or any kind of like that kind of love, but a real love, like the platonic kind of love that shows, like you said, that genuine care. Because you can't, tell someone to do something and, you know, they might follow you because of the rank, but
Mhm.
when you see them follow you because they don't want to let you down, and that's kind of like they kind of flip the script. It's like, oh, this person's really going after it, but it's because you might have put that genuine care in there. And some people can be like, oh yeah, I messed up, but then the ones that you put that love and care into, they'll come back and be like, hey, I messed up, but can you show me this or that, or how I can avoid, whatever. And they're always picking your brain and wanting to be better, and I think that it shows.
Man, that's super important, man. I think this is a conversation that I knew I wanted to have. And just hearing your perspective on all the things we talked about, it just keeps the lead respect notches. I just keep checking them off, keep getting higher and higher, man. I'm very glad that you came out, had this conversation with me. I'm gonna ask y'all, do y'all want us to do a part two? Because I'm thinking this is probably like 45 minutes long. It's getting kind of long,
Yeah,
but I already knew this conversation was gonna be like this, right? But we might have to do a part two to this and
I'm
get
here.
some specific questions from the audience if y'all got some certain things that y'all want us to talk about. If you all have liked this podcast and y'all have additional questions that you want to ask Andrew, or if you want me to ask him, or another conversation that you want us to have, please drop it in the comments. We talked a lot about physical fitness in this thing. We worked out the other day on Friday. I think the workout was like 30 or 40 minutes, but I filmed the whole thing. If you want to see that whole workout, the link is down low in the description. And that's all we got for this episode of Inside Leaders. And catch you next time. And we are out.
Oh, that was
Man.
fun. That was fun.